investors.
I am here with the Property Challenge podcast.
I teach investors all around the world how to become real estate investors and
how to overcome their challenges. Join me here every single week. PCP, the Property Challenge podcast.
When I started this podcast and when I said, what am I going to talk about? I said the best name is
the Property Challenge.
Hey investors, welcome to another episode of the Property Challenge podcast with your host, Terrica Lynn Smith. And again, we're just going into all of the challenges that many of you face and or may face when getting started with real estate investing. This is a podcast that helps you get through those things. It's meant to be informative for you guys, just so you can have a platform where you can come on and listen and just get different perspectives. And so today I wanted to go behind closed doors. Now, what does that mean exactly, right? The importance of having a property inspection. Now, some people may use the term due diligence or whatever the case may be. But either way, I need for you guys to know that we're going to be going all the way behind closed doors today, right? We're going to get to the nitty gritty of why a property inspection, a due diligence period is important. So the first thing I would tell you guys this is I've been doing real estate for a very long time, 20 years, shout out, whoop, whoop. And baby, have I found some things in these inspections that these sellers knew about. Like they would purposely hide things and lie straight to your face. I mean, with a straight face, and act like they never even knew anything about it. And so one of the situations I'm like reminded of is even just recently when I purchased my house. I purchased a house. So my first house I renovated. My second house, my second primary residence, I built myself. I self-contracted it. And then my third house, I bought from a one-owner seller. This man was a professional liar. Like, I don't think they make him like this. I mean, he came off so sweet and genuine, informative, helpful. He just was, I mean, y'all, I got played. I don't even know how else to say it other than I got played. I fell for the okie doke. I fell for what he was showing me on the surface. I was so in love with the house. I finally found a house that was hidden in the country. It had all the acres of land I wanted. I was able to go fishing in my front and my backyard. Like it just checked all the boxes. And so sometimes we got to be careful because that excitement can make us blind. And that's what happened to me. I became blind because I was so excited about the actual property. Now, mind you, I was able to overcome the things that this seller lied about. But let's just start from the beginning. So I put a purchase contract on a property, and this is typically when you are going to buy a property, right? Whenever you're going to buy a property, you're going to put a contract on it. And your agent is probably going to say, what is your due diligence period? How long do you need to get an inspector to come out here and take a look at the property? You may say anywhere from 7 to 14 days if it's residential. You may say 90 days if it's commercial. And you may say 6 months to a year if it's land. That's just the normal due diligence, right? So I put in a 14-day due diligence, not realizing that I'm traveling a lot, right? So I ended up, I called the home inspector. I told him, hey, I'm buying this property. It's the house is pretty big, so you're probably going to need to clear your calendar for the day because I want you to take your time doing the inspection. Well, the inspector cleared his calendar, and so he comes out, he do the inspection, and, he find out a few things. Now, what inspectors are going to do is they're usually going to say, I recommend you contacting a licensed HVAC. I recommend you contacting a foundation expert. Like they're just going to give the recommendations of kind of like what they see. And they're going to kind of tell you without putting their stamp on it that, hey, this is potentially what's wrong with the property, right? So I had him, the inspector, he hired the termite company and he was the home inspector. So he give me back the report. I read it. I'm doing my due diligence right up to this point, right? So I said, I'm going to go back out there. So I go back out to the property. The seller at this point in time, this was after the inspector gave me the report, and we were in the middle of negotiating all of the actual things that I was looking for. And so the owner was just trying to tell me that there wasn't the issue that the inspector pointed out in like this little cave by my swimming pool. It's not a big issue. So he showed me how he does it. He shows me that he's, like he designed all of this. He came up with the concept, like he went to Walt Disney World and designed all their water caves, like just cool things, right? Have a really cool backyard. So I'm listening to him and I'm wowed by his story. Now, the inspector just said he recommend I get an expert, okay? But the seller is saying he the one who built this and that he's the expert. He has the concrete company. He did all the concrete work in the house. So I'm taking him at his word. And look, sometimes we just do that. In casual conversation, we come into agreement with things that we shouldn't naturally come into agreement with. And I did. I was like, oh, okay, well, that don't seem too bad. So then I noticed the top balcony was kind of slacking. And so the inspector said, I recommend you get a foundation expert out. So I called out our foundation expert in the area. He came to the property. He said, it don't really look like a foundation issue. He said, it looks like more of a building issue. Like the owner, when he built it, he didn't put enough support for the balcony. And so that's why it's sagging. So I said, okay, well, that's good news, right? The foundation is not as bad as I thought. So I thought the foundation was bad. I thought the cave was bad. Here it is. I'm hearing all this news. Everything seemed okie dokie. Everything seemed fine. So the seller comes. I go back to the house again at some point in time throughout this process, y'all. I'm still in my due diligence period. And I point out to the seller about the balcony. And he says, oh, yeah. He said, I'm telling you, I ran 8x8, beams all the way across that. That thing is structurally sound. I think what happened is the columns, because the columns were like kind of like a styrofoam, if you would, like a very strong styrofoam, if I had to describe it, right? And that's what was really sagging. And so he was saying, I don't think the weight of the balcony can support the columns that's up under it. So I was like, okay, that's probably not that bad. But again, my excitement is blinding me. So I'm thinking, normally, I'm usually pretty on with these red flags. Like, I'm pretty accurate. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get played like that. So for me to get played like this, I'm telling you, I had too much emotions and too much feelings involved in it. So we go ahead, I negotiate everything. The seller says that, he gave me a pool report from a pool company showing that they changed out some things that I asked for with the pool. He wrote the cave report showing that the cave was good and that everything was fine with it. And then all of the other stuff he would just give me like a small allowance for, right? Cool. We go to closing. We close. The same evening, I get out to the property. I'm turning on all the water features with the swimming pool. And then I go to turn on the waterfall that flows off of the cave at my property. And all the water is literally like coming through the rocks, like sprinkling all over. If you can imagine like that sprinkle system that the kids run across, that's how the water was coming out of the cave. You got to keep in mind, this is a cave. Water should not be coming out like that. And whenever they inspected it, it was not doing that. The only thing he was telling me was that the cave where the inspector pointed out was cosmetic woodwork that he was doing on the inside of it with the styrofoam and the 2x4s and all of this stuff. So he had closed back in the cave where that spot was. So then I called the pool guy because he gave me all the people that did all the work on the property. So I called the pool guy, said, hey, there's a leak with this waterfall. He said, yeah, it's been a leak there. I said, okay. I said, but you didn't tell me that. Like, he said, I don't represent you. I was working with the seller, and the seller just told me to go take care of the motors. He didn't tell me to do nothing with the cave. He said, that cave been having a leak. He don't even turn he don't even turn the cave on. So I'm like, what? So I'm so frustrated about that. So I call the agent. I'm like, hey, your seller lied. He had this hidden defect and he hid it from me. And it wasn't able to be seen during inspection because they did inspect it, but until he repaired it. And what I should have did was went back out there and turned it on after he repaired it. But I trusted him. I did not do that. So whenever I did turn it on, water and everything was going all over the place. Y'all, I was 10 levels of pissed. One, because I don't know how to fix a cave. I think I was more mad about that. Like, how the heck do you fix a cave? I don't know. I don't even know who to call. Like, is there like cave hunters or I don't know. Right. My brain was just like, it couldn't wrap around. Like, it's not much my brain can't wrap around. I'm a quick decision maker. I don't like stay stuck in something too long. So this was like a unique situation for me. So all I see is red at this point because I'm aggravated and frustrated. So me and the seller is going back and forth because the agent stepped out of it. He said, look, I don't got nothing to do with this. I don't want to deal with this. You can talk directly to the seller. The guy's a piece of crap. He's been lying to me the whole time. I'm so sorry this has happened to you, but I don't want anything to do with it. I'm like, all right, cool, bet. So me and the seller, we going at it back and forth, email after email after email, right? So I just realized, I'm like, you know what? I can sit here and fight with him all day, or I can just start doing the other stuff. So keep in mind that the home inspector did the home inspection. He gave me the report of his findings. He also ordered the termite company to come do the termites, and it passed. There was no termites at the property. So we open up the balcony, and guess what we see? Termites. Now, at this point, the seller didn't tell me nothing about termites other than in the property disclosure, he never had no issue with termites. My inspector hired a company that clearly missed that this property had active termites. This is why the balcony is sagging, and this is why the balcony has to be done. Now, these big 8x8 beams that the seller said he ran all the way across and that it was completely sturdy were nowhere to be found. You know what he ran? He ran 4x4s and a few 6x6s. So I'm like, wow, I got played. I got played hard, right? So I'm trying to figure this out. So the contractor tell me, hey, look, I know I quoted you $8,000 to fix this. It's now going to be $40,000. What? So I'm like, I'm not paying you $40,000. Now, in my defense, the contractor came out and saw the property with me, and he heard what the seller said. So he gave me a bid based off of what the seller said as well. Because the beams, what the seller said he ran was not there, and he had to run these different beams to be able to support the balcony, it now increased the price 4 times the amount. So again, I said, hey, you should have never listened to the seller. You're a contractor. You should have checked the property. It's not fair for me to have to pay $40,000 because of this. On top of that, I got to fix the cave. And now I got termites. So now I got to deal with the termite situation. And then guess what happens? The motor burns out on the pool. Keep in mind, I said I had a pool report from the seller where they changed out the motors and said that they did the work. The pool company said, yeah, those were refurbished. Those have no warranties on them. I about flipped tables. I was all kind of pissed. But again, this is whose fault? It's mine. Because I've been doing real estate for a very long time, and I should have never allowed anyone to play me with their words. I know all the time how this game worked, and I just got caught up in the excitement of finally finding my retirement house. That's what I got caught up in, right? And so when I say I'm going behind the closed doors, I want to help you guys avoid the pitfalls of these due diligence periods and why they are important. So the first thing I would tell you is this: never deny, never ever deny, okay? Never deny a due diligence period. I don't care if you got to send whoever out there to take a look at that property. Don't ever waive your inspection period. Don't ever say you don't need one. It is the best money you can ever spend if done right. Let me get back to my inspector though. I see on Facebook that my home inspector and a lender who I tried to give the loan to close for me, who never called me back. Now I see why he didn't call me back, because him and the inspector, before I even purchased the property, was sharing this property saying, oh my goodness, we need to buy this house together. This would be a great house for all of us to hang out in and blah, blah, blah. So then I see the seller respond to the inspector comment on when the inspector shared the house listing. I said, wait, hold up. My home inspector knows the seller? So guess what happened? Right before closing, the home inspector went back out to check a few things. And I caught him talking with the seller, but I didn't put it together at that moment that they knew each other. It wasn't until I seen on Facebook when my inspector shared the property before I actually, before I even put a contract on it, but now I done closed on it, so now I can see all of this. It wasn't until then that I seen he had a relationship with the seller. The seller was at his house doing his thing concrete for him. Do y'all think that's a conflict of interest? Like, don't you think somebody should have said, hey, I know him? But it goes to show you, I stopped using this inspector. I unfollowed him. I couldn't believe I was giving this inspector at least $5,000 to $10,000 a year in inspections. That's a lot of money for an inspector, because an inspection typically costs about $200 to $300. He's on my no-call list now because he knew the seller. The property had termites. He called the termite company to come out. Never did the termite company disclose they had termites. So what you think I'm going to believe? They all in cahoots together and they're laughing at me. Now, they may not be laughing at me, but that's how I feel. So I have a choice. I can go sue the inspector, the seller, and the termite company, or I can take my lick my wounds, and not let it happen again. Because it's going to cost time, money, and energy to go to court. And I just don't have that. So I said, I don't really want to do that. So whenever you're doing a due diligence, identifying hidden issues is so important. The way you can identify hidden issues, and I say hidden, I'm talking structural, I'm talking plumbing problems, I'm talking electrical, I'm talking termites like was hidden at my property, right? By hiring the right people. I trusted my inspector too much to hire the people to come in and do everything. I trusted the seller too much. So make sure that you hire someone that does not have a relationship with the actual person you're in contract with. That's the first thing. The second thing a due diligence help is it allows you to have an informed decision. If I knew all of this in advance, I probably would have not been excited to pay the price that I paid for the property. Although I did get a good deal. I did negotiate them down a lot, a few $100,000 to be exact. But I probably would have did a lot more had I known all this other stuff was going on, right? But it allows you to make a better informed decision. It also gives you a negotiating leverage whenever you know these things up front and you figure it out, because now you're negotiating for what you actually know and not what you're just assuming. And so where I dropped the ball and where I went wrong at was I was trusting all the wrong people at this point in time. I should have never trusted. I should have been able to trust the people I hired. I should have never trusted the seller. But because the seller was already in cahoots with the inspector, and the inspector was in cahoots with the termite company, and the termite company is in cahoots with the inspector, and look, it's a hot mess. The next thing the due diligence period can help you do is verify safety concerns, right? So I'm talking bad wiring, outdated heating and cooling, things that can cost you money. It allows you to identify that, right? You don't ever want to go into a house. I had a house once that somebody bought, and they knew that it had Man, it's not the aluminum wiring. It had aluminum wiring, but it had some copper type. I forgot what it was called, right? It was old. Like, they probably wired this house in the 30s, 1930s or something like that. Like, I've never seen electrical panel like that before. So anyways, all that had to be changed. Well, guess what? The power has never been shut off in the property. So whenever the power was shut off in the property, and then the buyer went to go turn the power back on in the property, that power box, that panel sparked. And it caused a fire with the wiring. So now what went from maybe grounding some outlets and changing out a panel, you had to rip out all the sheetrock in the house to rerun wiring. It was a freaking nightmare. So again, just knowing that and being aware of the safety concerns, because that's a huge concern, because the inspector did tell my buyer, they said, hey, this is aluminum wiring. And I can't remember the exact words for the way they had it wired or whatever, but it was a very old way of wiring. They said that this could be a potential fire hazard. So the buyer knew that. So he couldn't get upset at nobody, because he said, I'm going to get it changed out with an electrician. Who would have known shutting the power off and then turning it back on? Boom. The panel catch a fire, burns the wiring. Now you got to rip out sheetrock because you got to rewire the whole house. Due diligence matters. Somebody put due diligence matter in the chat. So then you have budgeting and repairs. That's what due diligence also helps you do, right? It helps you budget for the repairs. Had I known the fix at my house, the very first year, I ended up spending almost $100,000 on renovations, things I wanted, and repairs, things that were needed. Had I known that, I probably would have negotiated much different than what I did before. But I didn't know that, so I just allowed it. You know what I'm saying? I got caught up. Right. So it was very costly. Me and the contractor, though, he's such a great guy. Shout out to our contractor. He actually said, you know what, you're right. I should have never listened to that seller. And so he came down halfway on the property and met me halfway with the amount, which a lot of contractors don't do that. So when you get a good contractor like that, that's reputable, you try to hold on to them. The next thing a due diligence period helps with, or an inspection period helps with, is peace of mind. Knowing that you have done everything to thoroughly check and make sure that the property is safe and habitable. It gives you a peace of mind knowing that. If you close on a property knowing that you got to go in and do things, that's one thing. Going in and not knowing you have to do these things is a whole nother thing. So having that due diligence period gives you that peace of mind to say, okay, I done brought in every inspector I possibly can. I brought in the AC company. I brought in the plumbing. I brought in the electrical. I brought in the roof. I brought in the foundation experts. I brought in my contractor who can help me with all of the renovations and things like that. I've done everything I was supposed to do. That's a peace of mind that you have. That peace of mind is important because guess what? I'm laying in my bed and I'm not at peace. Now I'm walking through the house. Guess what else I find? I find a roof leak that the inspector missed. Boom, I got to deal with that. Now, guess what else? I'm walking through, water coming through the sheetrock. What the heck happened? But again, it's nobody's fault but my own. So I roll my sleeves up, me and my husband, and we do what we have to do. We figure it out. Now, what I can tell you is I've learned so much along the way in this process that I don't think I'll ever be blinded by another jewel again. There's not a diamond around, meaning a property around, that can wow me so much that I forget to ask the right questions. The next thing the due diligence and home inspection period can help you do is it allows you future planning. Whenever you have future planning, it allows you to have a long-term maintenance plan and also a short-term. I told you guys I built my house, the house before the one I'm in, right? And we had so much maintenance, deferred maintenance on that property. So when I moved out, I wanted to sell it. But before I can sell it, because I kept on deferring maintenance and I was like, oh, I'll get to it whenever I get to it. That right there cost over $40,000 just to get that house in a condition that a buyer in that price range would pay for it. Imagine that. So making sure that I'm staying on top of my maintenance, making sure that I'm, paying attention, if you would, to things that need to be done and addressing them and not just kicking the can. Oh, yeah, I'll get to it when I can. And before you know it, you got a big old issue. Then it also helps the due diligence and the inspection period. Same thing. It helps with the compliance with regulations, right? Building codes. It helps you avoid legal issues. That's for you as a seller. As a buyer, you can go to the city and or the county, wherever you are, and ask them for a list of violations on the property. If they come out and issue a citation on that property, they can give you a list of all of those things that can help you, right? And so having that allows you to say, okay, this property is compliant. There's no fines against it. It's in good condition for you to be able to have a peace of mind is what it is. But let me tell you, when you piss off the city, when you start doing things different, right? And the city got all of these citations issued against the property, they are a freaking nightmare. And not only that, they can start hitting you with fines every single day. That's a seller. A buyer, you buy that property not knowing that all of these citations have been hit on this property, and this property got all these fines and all these things going on, and you got 30 days to fix it. I'll give you guys an example. I was under contract for a property, and I did it right on this one, right? I told y'all this, the beautification of the property I was buying for myself just blinded me. But I'm pretty accurate. I'm pretty undefeated on all the other aspects, right? So we got this property. It's under contract. And of course, I go through my normal process. I call the city. I say, hey, are there any liens or anything against the property? They said, yes. I say, are there any violations? They say, yes. I said, how much are the citations? They tell me the amounts. And then they say this, we're scheduled for demolition on Monday. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm thinking I'm buying a property. What you mean you scheduled for demolition? If I had not called, and we would have closed on that property, come Monday, we would have been looking for a property. Just because it changed ownership does not stop the proceeding. You literally got to go before a judge and say, I am a new owner. I am looking to bring this property back in compliance with the city and the ordinance and zoning. And I would like to have an additional 60 days to get this done. That's what you can ask for. Had I not done that, come Monday, there would have not been no property there for us. Talk about a haircut. I would have been 10 levels of negative. I would have been 10 levels of piss, if you would, right? And then another reason for your due diligence is protecting the investment. You know, whenever you find out that there's something wrong with your property, fix it. Don't be like me and defer to maintenance and be like, I'll get to it whenever I can. No, it makes no sense. Because before you know it, you're going to be looking at a big ticket item. Very costly. So looking behind closed doors and understanding the importance of property inspections, never pass an opportunity by when you can do a due diligence. Now, let me give you guys another scenario. If you're an investor and you're like, oh my goodness, these foreclosures are not allowing me to have a due diligence period, make sure you have a financing contingency. If you have a financing contingency, then you can get out of the contract. If you don't have a due diligence contingency and or a financing contingency and you sign that contract, you stuck with buying that property no matter what you found. I never want to be in a position like that. So always make sure that you're negotiating your due diligence period. Always make sure that you are doing everything you can to fully inspect this property. Real estate is one of the largest investments that you can invest into. And if not done right, you can end up spending $100,000 like I did myself, $40,000 on my other primary residence, or you can end up, having to rewire an entire house, another $20,000 fix. And or you can find out the house you're interested in is about to be torn down completely. And not only torn down, guess what? I ain't even say this, so let me put that in there, right? Once they tear it down, you got to pay the city how much they paid to tear it down. I don't know if you know this, but anybody who sent a contract to the city, their prices are ridiculous. It makes no sense. I don't even understand how they're using our tax dollars to do this because it's stupid. But these contractors submit the highest, most ridiculous bids. So let's say they might have been charged $30,000 to demolish a house, and it normally costs $5,000. You got to pay that $30,000 as the new owner, even though you don't even have a property there. Wouldn't that suck? You bought a property that had a house. Come Monday, the house is torn down, and now you got to pay. Now you got to pay the house. You got to pay for the house being torn down. What type of foolery is that? Just throw the whole property away at this point, right? Property inspections is so important. I can't stress enough. And I think it's not talked about enough. I think people talk about the wins with real estate, but a lot of people go through these losses. They take these L's, these lessons, because they're uneducated or they simply just didn't know they could ask. And so my advice to you would be, do your due diligence. Know that you can ask all the questions. It don't matter if the seller is getting frustrated. It don't matter if your realtor is tired of going back and forth. You stay and ask as many questions as you possibly can, because at the end of the day, the realtor going to leave like they left me. The inspector is going to probably be friends with the seller like they were with me. The whole termite company, I mean, their only job is to look for termites. How in the heck you missed the freaking termites at my property? I would never understand that. You got one job to do, find termites. And to you to you inspector, to you termite company, and to you seller who's watching this, and you know I'm talking about you. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Yeah, I'm talking about you. And you lucky I don't say your name on this podcast because I'm not going to get no clout. But y'all need to do your due diligence on these termite companies. Go read and research. Make sure that their reviews are good. Make sure that your inspector is not in the seller's pocket and are their friend, and or they got another project going on the side that you know nothing about. Right? That's mine. But what did I really learn from this situation? I learned that I should never skip a lesson that I already learned in the past. I already knew how to avoid all of this, but because I wasn't representing nobody, I took my thinking cap off. Because I was so excited that I finally found what I was looking for, I took my thinking cap off. Because I wanted to believe that this seller, because he was in a different price range or whatever the reason may be, I thought because he was in this position of life, he would have a different code of ethics that he followed. I was wrong. Stupidity comes at every level, no matter how big you are, you know. But wow, what a curveball, right? But would I change anything from this lesson that I learned within the past year and a half, 2 years? No. This is an opportunity for me to grow. At some point, I got complacent. At some point, I got too relaxed with what I already knew. And I needed a refresher to punch me in the face like this did to say, hey, don't you ever think that it can't happen to you. Realtors got this thing. They're going to fuss me for saying it publicly, but it's just what they say. They say sellers are liars and buyers are worse. They say sellers catch amnesia, and they do. Sellers be lying, and they do. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying a lot. Why are they going to lie? Because they want to sell the property. There's a reason why they want to sell the property. There's a reason why they want to get out the property. So at the end of the day, I know that I have to look at my investment for myself. I have to look at my investment for my family and for me. That was a big lesson that I learned not just a year and a half ago. I learned that. And guess what? It's been sticking with me. And guess what? I'm still going through it. I'm still ironing out all the kinks where I skipped a few steps. I'm still ironing all that out. But am I going to fold? Nah. Am I going to quit? Nah. Am I going to buy another piece of real estate? I already did. It's a part of the game. Real estate is a contact sport. You got to get in the game. I'm not going to allow my ignorance to discourage me or my discernment that I didn't trust and or use, I'm not going to allow that to keep me out the game. I'm going to allow it to make me stronger and better and wiser. And that's what you can do. So as an investor, never, ever, ever pass your due diligence up. I don't care what wholesaler tell you, you don't get one. I don't care what bank tell you, you don't get one. I do not care. If you sign a contract with no contingencies, you deserve every single thing that happens to you. And if you don't do your due diligence fully and you just start getting relaxed thinking people got your back and they don't even know you like that, you deserve everything you're going to get fully. So now you have a whole entire episode dedicated to behind closed doors, the importance of a due diligence, the importance of a property inspection. You have it here at the Property Challenge Podcast. You have a blueprint to follow. You have a game plan to move forward. You know how to go out there and win, because anytime you get in a contract, you're going to say, hey, where's my due diligence at? How many days do I have? Is this enough time? And if you're trusting your realtor, let me tell you guys this before I go. If you're trusting your realtor, then you want to make sure that your realtor is sending you at least 3 different vendors for whatever you need in your due diligence. So if you got to get the foundation inspected, get 3 foundation experts. If you want to get an AC quote, get 3 AC quotes. You want to get a roofing quote, get 3 roofing quotes. Do it in the order of 3, right? That way you can make sure you stay protected and that you're doing your part during your property due diligence. I'm your host, Terrica Lynn Smith. This has been another fire episode of the Property Challenge Podcast. Guys, do me a favor. If you are enjoying the Property Challenge Podcast, click the like button. It's free. It's free to like the subscribe button, right? And share it with 3 friends. That's all I ask. If this has blessed you and it has helped you become more prepared as a real estate investor, then share it with 3 other people you would like to get prepared, and comment done in the chat whenever it's done. I am out. I'm out. I'll see you guys next week on another episode of the Property Challenge Podcast. Peace.